Welcome to the Body Energetix Podcast. I'm your host, 23-year fitness professional, Lauren Saracione. I started my hero's journey of reconnecting with my inner child to heal my mind-body disorders 14 years ago. In this podcast, I share my 3-step system to renew your mind, regulate your emotions, and regenerate your body. Go to bodyenergetix.com to join my free community where each week we expand on the theme of the current episode so you can reconnect your mind body to restore your physical health and create your desired aesthetic.
Welcome to Body Energetix Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Saracione, 23-year fitness professional and 3 times self-healing champ. Now, this is going to be the same intro to 3 episodes, and the 3 episodes are based on the very first gamified coaching call that we just had in the Body Energetix community. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see there are 9 Post-its on the wall. We have 9 members in bodyenergetix.com. And I'm so happy about it because this is truly my life's purpose. And it is so rewarding that all of my heartache and all of my note-taking and all of my personal development and all of my pain and health issues have been useful to share with other people who might be going through something similar. So it's very fun to have the experience reflected back to me from the outside in. I'm very happy about this and very grateful for the women who are in the group. And it is open to men. You don't have to be just female oriented. There's only one module in the entire system that is around being feminine with eating and our menstrual cycle. Everything else applies to everybody. So join if you haven't joined, because this coaching call was so effective. We were on for 2 hours because I wanted to give the ladies space, as much space as they needed to express themselves, and for us to create a strategy for the next 4 weeks of their life, create a strategy for their leaderboard so that they can get in the ranks again for the next coaching call, because the leaderboard goes to 0 every single month. So every single month you have a fresh opportunity to get coaching from me in a small group setting. There's only 3 people on the gamified coaching call. And we made a strategy or an accountability program of things that I am expecting them to post in the group every single day. So they're going to get support from me, because when they post in the group, I'm going to deepen whatever it is that they post to help them get even further along. That's going to bring their leaderboard up to give them, hopefully, access to another coaching call. Of course, you could do paid coaching with me in a coaching container that you have access to me almost at all times. But for the free container, participating is what gets you a monthly coaching call. So we did that today, and it took 2 hours, and it was so fabulous because now I have 3 podcast episodes to share with you based on the things that we talked about. And this is going to be so good because it's going to be more relevant to you, because it's something that is someone else is experiencing right now and will help you on your path. And then if you're one of the ladies who was in the coaching call, one of these episodes is basically for you as a secondary coaching situation to help you through the thing that you're working on. What do I want to say? Okay, continued in this opening that's going to go onto each one of these episodes is the common thing that happened on the call was there was an inability to convey the feeling the emotional body was having. So when I would ask a question for all 3 of these women, part of their response was, it's hard to put words to. I'm not really sure. There was so much going on. I can't really answer that in a specific way. What that means is the emotions, the energy of sabotage and ghosting the habits, the emotional resistance that all 3 of these women are having are in dorsal. They're in the base operating system of the nervous system that is the rollover and play dead emotions. This is the freeze and fawn reaction to stay safe, to stay alive. The dorsal level is also your blueprint. your natal chart, your human design, your gene keys. They are the same thing. We call one dorsal as a fear reaction and survival, and we call the other our soul blueprint. Reason being, the soul blueprint of your charts is what, in my belief system and in many belief systems, take it or leave it, is what your soul, decided to experience in this human form. I'm Aries rising. My midhaven is in Capricorn. That is go fight win energy. That is strategy energy. That is discipline energy. That is leadership energy. And I'm in fitness. Makes sense, right? Chiron, the wounded healer, is in Taurus. That has to do with physical problems that you're coming to heal, not money problems, not relationship problems. I came here to heal through the physical body. And I had 3 life-changing events with my physical health. So it makes sense who I am in my profession. Who I am in my profession makes sense based on that blueprint. The dorsal is the same thing. If we are regulated, we're able to access that blueprint that's the unconscious, just way of being who we are. But if we're in dorsal, it is a repressed emotion that then dictates this natal chart or all of our reactions to be fear-based, because we then create a protective mindset in the sympathetic of fight or flee to make sure that that dorsal roll over and play dead emotion from our childhood does not happen again. Like the sympathetic fight and flee is something that we're doing unconsciously through our behavior and through our words to prevent 2 things. Number 1, to prevent the bad thing from happening again, whatever it is that sent us into dorsal as a child. And number 2, prevent our worst fears about us being a POS from being confirmed. So the sabotage questions and the resistance questions and the struggle questions that the ladies had today, they're aware of the problem, but when I ask a question from a feeling sensation, they can't access it. So they're aware of how they act and react and how shitty they feel because they can't do this thing with their habit, because that thing with the habit is actually attached to the dorsal roll over and play dead. God forbid I find out I'm a POS, I'm not good enough, I'm too much. Or if I follow through, my worst fears will come true. That's really what the inner child feeling and the adaptive teenager is thinking. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because to use the body energetic system, I was the same way, that I knew I felt bad, but I didn't know why I felt bad, and I didn't know what emotion was making me feel bad. So that's why I created the Body Energetix coding system, to look at the body parts that weren't working correctly, that were unhealthy, giving me pain, and that I didn't like, that I really wanted to change. I looked at those to say, what is the metaphysical meaning of these? What is the negative mindset that is associated with these body parts? And do I relate to any of that stuff? And because I was in dorsal and disconnected, when I looked up the metaphysical meanings and I looked up the negative mantras from Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Body, I sat with it to be like, does any of that resonate with me? Because if it does, then I must have experienced that negative mindset or that metaphysical meaning that's making me direct my focus to this area of my body that I don't like, or that's causing my body to deteriorate. That's the dorsal stuff that is the unconscious. And so the things that these 3 episodes are of what their accountability is for the next 4 weeks are giving them a focal point in 3D in their adult human to allow the resistance and sabotage of the adaptive teenager rear its ugly head, to assess it and pay attention to it and work with it, to then loosen the grip that the adaptive teenager is keeping on the inner child emotions from not being re-experienced. When we can feel those inner child emotions, the adaptive teenager in fight and flight is going to stop being so reactive. So then your adult self can follow through better with your habits. The outcome is that we get into the body of our dreams because we're finally being consistent with our habits. But what's actually happening is you're regulating your nervous system and you are moving up the autonomic ladder from dorsal, roll over and play dead emotions that you can't access, but you just know you feel bad, up into sympathetic to get the energy moving to actually face the worst fears and pay attention to the sabotage or the resisting, to then be able to eventually be in a ventral state where you are coherent and making decisions as a balanced human being, being aware of the feelings and being aware of your thoughts so that you don't let your habits go off the rail, so that you build a lifestyle to support your dream body to eventually become your dream body. We're reverse engineering it. And we're heading into this knowing that we're pulling up emotions. So it's a whole different mindset for this dream body acquisition. So that is your intro for all 3 of these episodes. We are now transitioning to topic number 1, which is brain and heart coherency breathing. The reason why brain and heart coherency breathing is this person's DNC, or not DNC, the reason why brain and heart coherency breathing is this person's job commitment for the next 4 weeks to post in the group every time she does this is because the resistance that she's having to doing an elimination diet because of inflammation in her digestive system, she's having resistance to doing that because she has an old mindset from being anorexic. So now to go from moderation, you can eat everything and still love yourself, she now has to get restrictive. And I definitely relate to that because when I cleared my inflammation for the most part and wanted to eat everything that I couldn't have without having any symptoms, to then eventually getting symptoms again, to then finding the balance of the moderation of being 80% on my anti-inflammatory list, to then want to get the 10 pounds off that I gained, to want to track macros because that's the most effective way to lose weight, honestly, because you have it on paper, to then feel the resistance of now that I can kind of have everything, I don't have the fear mindset for symptoms. Oh my God, if I restrict myself, am I going to go off the wheels again? Am I going to start binging? So I know what she's thinking and what the fear is. So my question to her was, when you were able to overcome anorexia, what was the fear that you were able to, demolish? She's like, whoa, that's a loaded question. She names off all these things that happened in her childhood. And the 2 things that I want to touch on is parentification. She became the caregiver to her mother, who was sick physically and emotionally. And she was put into a group therapy as a young person, like a home, which caused complex PTSD because of the things that happened there. So she's dealing with, number 1, being a parentified child who in the definition of the nervous system is in dorsal because she had to fawn, take care of her mother, which means that like she's frozen in a certain level because she had to now be an adult as a child. So number 1, she has that. Number 2, She has complex trauma of repeated attacks in multiple scenarios, not just with being in a home. So those two things make it so that she can't really identify why she's resistant to doing the anti-inflammatory diet when she knows she was able to overcome anorexia, but overcoming the anorexia had to do with all these other things. So if we know it had to do with all these other things, and now she's facing something to get out of these painful symptoms, why isn't it just the symptoms are painful enough to start to follow through? And it's because of those two things. So on a deep nervous system level, she actually hasn't regulated her nervous system to get out of the dorsal of the parentification and to get out of the complex trauma. So for her mental emotional identities, there's a little bit, and I'm not saying that she is a split personality, but what happens is with the complex trauma, to survive all the nuances of the different traumas that are coming at us or at her, there's different mental emotional mindsets. There's different mindsets to match different emotional attacks, emotional abandonments. So she is dealing with so much. So because she's dealing with so much that she can't pinpoint, okay, well, when I was able to overcome anorexia, it was really the fear of ... And I was able to make sense of that and overcome that and change my mindset and be confident in that area. She didn't have a statement like that. She had, this is what happened to me. So because it was, this is what happened to me, I can't really identify it. The brain and heart coherency breathing is her work for the next month. And the reason why is because the brain and heart coherency breathing brings us into a ventral state where we're in our conscious adult mind. The reason why it does that is because the slow breathing of inhaling for 5 seconds and exhaling for 5 seconds slows the rhythm of the heart. So now the heart, which is kind of this sensory, am I safe type of a energy, now gets to relax and know that because I'm breathing in such a relaxed state, there's no danger. A faster breath is I need to be active because I'm doing a presentation, or what is happening? Did I just run from danger? Is danger approaching me? So it calms down your heart, and your heart is electric, and your heart emanates a signal. Your brain's job is to interpret the energy of the physical body and its surroundings through the thing that we name emotion. Emotions are just measurements of energy. So they have a number associated with them on a scale that you can measure, but then they also have a feeling that we identify with: sad, happy, chaotic, disappointed, depressed, fearful. So when we're in brain and heart coherency breathing and we slow down the heart, number one, the nervous system leaves sympathetic and is in ventral. Number two, the brain starts to think differently because we're also feeling an emotion in the breathing. We're imagining something that would make us feel love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care. So we got the breath slowed down so the physical heart knows that it's safe. We are using the energetic component of the intuition of the heart to feel a regenerative emotion. And the only way we can feel that is if we focus with our mind that energy. So the image that we have in our mind is projecting itself out of your body to then eventually be reflected back so that you can experience love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care, whatever emotion it was that you think that experience will give you. So you're using all the laws of the universe while you're regulating your nervous system. When you're doing that, the regulation of your nervous system allows you to have a distinction of energy, to have a boundary. of this is okay, I can handle this, this is overwhelming, I got to cut and run. I feel really insecure, so I'm going to buckle down and do everything right and be really hard on myself. Like those are the thoughts and the actions that we have when we're dysregulated. So the brain and heart coherency breathing is going to allow this person to, number one, regulate that nervous system. Number two, change the energy of her body. Number three, change the molecules of emotions secreting from her brain while she's imagining something that will make her feel love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care. She's sending out a vibrational signal out into the quantum field to then have it reflected to her. And because the outcome of her mind, whatever she's going to use to imagine love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care, she's got the image and then she's got the feeling. That feeling is the magnet to attract things that are going to bring her closer to that experience. So she has to be aware. Her doing her part is to be aware of what changes in her life, what comes into her life, and aware of what is being reflected to her. And the reflection aspect is a little bit tricky because sometimes areas of life fall apart when you start doing brain and heart coherency breathing, because you are out picturing a different reality and you are feeling something different in your body and you are choosing these things. So you are now using your body parts consciously to direct universal law of energy that is conducted through thoughts and feelings of the brain and the heart. So it's very powerful. What this is going to do for her doing this consistently for at least 30 days, however long we have this month until the next coaching call, her life is going to change. Her body's going to change. She is going to be aware of the inner child emotions of sadness and disappointment that are in dorsal, that she maybe knows that she feels sad or disappointed, but she doesn't know the exact moment in her childhood that those feelings happened, that she disassociated to not be the reason for sadness or not to have sadness or not be the disappointment to someone else or not be disappointed by someone. Because sadness and disappointment are very heavy for a child, because the sadness is often because we're not feeling loved by our caregiver. We're not having enough attention to feel that we're worth anything. And then the disappointment, especially if you have been parentified where you had to be a caregiver in one way or another for your parent, for you to disappoint them, there could be like a sad fallout where you can see they get sad, or it could be a fallout of them attacking you or something bad happening because you couldn't soothe them. So in the emotions of that dorsal, of that inner child, it doesn't want to have those feelings confirmed as I'm sad because I feel this emptiness, or I am a disappointment, or I feel disappointed if people don't show up for me in the way we want them to. So the sadness and disappointment then, to not have those things experienced, then the sympathetic of the adaptive teenager comes in and either acts avoidantly because there's a fear of engulfment. That's the parentification. You don't want to be responsible for somebody else. Or the fear of abandonment, that if we don't live up to those expectations, we're not going to get the love and affection from our caregiver. But because those sympathetic reactions in attachment theory are because this woman can't commit to an anti-inflammatory diet that's going to reverse her health problems, what is in committing to this and following through with it, and the fears that she has around it that remind her of her triggers with anorexia, how is the sympathetic fear of engulfment and fear of abandonment why is it showing up here? So the brain and heart coherency breathing is going to connect that dorsal, sympathetic, and ventral of the nervous system, and using the laws of the universe to watch how her life is going to change and what's going to come into her life to support her to be able to follow through with this anti-inflammatory diet. That's going to start to show her things about these repressed memories that are now available to be rewritten in a wisdom story of, this was the perfect raw material for me to be this extraordinary human being right now. That was the coal, I am the diamond. That was the potter's wheel, I am the vase. It's going to allow that to start to happen so that she can follow through with the anti-inflammatory diet. So that's why she has brain and heart coherency breathing. It's just 3 minutes a day, and it will change her life. In conclusion, so this segment right here that I'm sharing with you right now is going to go on the tail end of every single one of these videos. In conclusion, if this was helpful, I would really love for you to give a 5-star rating and review on your podcast players. Tag me on social media at Body Energetix with an X, or at Lauren Saracione. Go to bodyenergetix.com to join the gamified coaching community. It is like a personal training and diet store because you have all different strategies. You have a guide to assess where you are mentally and emotionally. You have a guide to set your goal. And then once you set your goal, I have this little template that then tells you what tool to use to get that goal. In the videos, feel like I'm having a one-on-one conversation with you, telling you what to do. So it's very simple. And when you check the box, when you watch a module, your leaderboard goes up, gets you into the running to be the top 3 for the gamified coaching that's on the first Saturday of every month. When you post on the wall, it's, question or an insight or an aha moment, whatever, and I respond to it, and then you respond again. Your leaderboard just went up twice. If somebody posts and you relate and you encourage or you congratulate someone, your leaderboard goes up. So in other words, the more work you do for yourself and the more you support your community, the more support you get. And like I said, that coaching call was 2 hours. I had initially said that it was just going to be an hour, but I was like, not what it's about. It's not about the time. It's about how can you feel that basically every strategy can work. And basically every hang up that you have is mental, emotional, and we can access it strategically with habit change and nervous system regulation and reflecting on how the inner child and the adaptive teenager shows up specifically in the autonomic nervous system. So then we're doing this mental emotional work to get the body healthy and regulated, which makes you more conscious to be able to follow through with your habits, which then will get you to your outcome. So we're kind of like going through the back entrance to your dream body, because we're looking at the sabotage and the resistance and the fantasies that we made about it that are going to validate us, that are going to validate our reality that wasn't validated when we were kids. It's causing all these issues. So good, so good. So thank you so much for listening to this, bodyenergetix.com. So thank you so much for being here. I will see you when I see you. I hope to see you in bodyenergetix.com, where you can get gamified coaching.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you found it helpful, please give me a 5-star rating and review. Share it with your friends. Tag me on social media at Body Energetix with an X or at Lauren Saracione, and I'll reshare you to my story. We'll see you in the Body Energetix community at bodyenergetix.com.